on Thursday night, marking the one-year anniversary of the coronavirus pandemic. Joining me right now with the reaction is Candace Owens, author of Blackout. And good morning to you, Candace. It's great to see you this morning. Let me get your reaction to what you heard from President Biden on Thursday night. And he didn't give President Trump any credit, even though President Trump rolled back regulations and, of course, introduced warp speed to get those vaccines on the market.
Well, this is the privilege of the Biden administration. I mean, imagine being a president who never has to answer questions from the press. You can just make stuff up as you go along. This has been one of the more remarkable things about this administration is that they are not taking questions. Joe Biden has not taken any questions. They seem to be protecting him and insulating him from any critiques. And we are correct to call this out. Obviously, this was a major win of the Trump administration. But people are wondering, how is it possible that Joe Biden gets out there, he gives an entire speech, it's been 50+ days, and he still has not taken any questions from journalists. You know, we were lucky to have President Trump leading us during this country during the time of the coronavirus pandemic, and I think Joe Biden knows that. I don't think that he believes the things that are coming out of his mouth. I certainly don't believe that he wrote the things that are coming out of his mouth, and I don't think that he remembers the things that he said that came out of his mouth when he first said it was going to be a long, dark winter. This is largely a man that does not seem to have his mental faculties about him. He's not fooling the American people, but the more important thing is he's not fooling anybody abroad, and right now America as a country looks tremendously weakened.
Well, it's one of the reasons that you had such a big showing from the black community for President Trump in election 2020. Let me get your take on where you think the community is today under Biden policies and whether or not you see support there from the minorities and the black American community.
If you ever want to check the temperature of how the minorities are doing and what party they're treading towards, you need but read the mainstream media narrative, which is already castigating Hispanic men, black men, and trying to come up with reasons why they're starting to vote more conservatively. They did this right after the election. I remember reading a piece in Yahoo News where they were talking about black American men and why they're breaking from a Democrat Party and making it seem as if it's because a lot of them aren't good people. We saw this recently in the New York Times piece, talking about Hispanic men, saying that they fell for QAnon conspiracy theories. So they're realizing that they are losing minority voters, and it's because of their policies, and it's also because they don't feel that they have a leader. They're looking at Joe Biden. He is not a leader. They're looking at these Democrat policies. They are not helping them. You know, when you say, let's just make the borders porous, and you pretend that it's not happening, as you covered in a couple of segments ago, is that going to help black Americans? And when they have to compete with illegals for jobs? Absolutely not. So all of this makes sense to us. It doesn't make sense to people on the left as to why minorities are breaking. Calling everybody a racist and a white supremacist, it's getting pretty old. It's getting pretty old. You have to deliver, and you have to make their communities better, which Democrats are not doing.
Well, it's getting old, but there's a resurgence of it in schools. I want to take a break and then come back and talk about your take on the critical race theory. A piece from her son's 7th grade class where they're saying, if you identify as white, come to a meeting because we want to make sure you can thrive and strive not to be a racist. They're assuming every kid is a racist, Candace.
Absolutely, and I know that Megyn Kelly pulled out her children from school for similar reasons, and this is a big topic that I cover extensively. I truly believe that it's time for us to pull our kids out of school, and I know people say, oh, well, not all of us can afford to do that. The country wasn't built on people having a lot of money when they were homeschooling, and we're starting to see this more and more. It's indoctrination that's happening. They're trying to fuel race issues in this country. They're trying to teach this Marxist ideology, and the bad thing is here, Maria, they're replacing hard academics. These kids are not learning science, not learning mathematics. They're learning how to hate white people. They're learning how to hate their country. And this is problematic for the future. What they're trying to do is guarantee that they have an ignorant group of people that vote based on emotion. This is a Democrat long-term strategy, and it's finally coming into fruition.
This has got to stop. They're also dividing us with this H.R. 1, saying that H.R. 1 is the answer for minorities to vote.
I'm so tired of Black Americans, Hispanic Americans being used to further the Democrat power and everything that the Democrats want to do. And we've seen this time and time again. And it's always a game of linguistics. They tell you that it's going to help you, right? It's to combat voter suppression. Well, votes are not being suppressed. This is what the left always does. They make it sound good when in fact they're actually after the exact opposite. When I hear them saying that they're trying to combat voter suppression, I always know that what they're actually after is suppressing votes themselves and making making sure that they stay in power. H.R. 1 is extremely, extremely dangerous, and we need to make sure that we are trying to combat it and fight it every single manner that we can.
How do we stop this, Candace? Real quick, you say take the kids out of school. How do you ensure that the curriculum is not biased the way it is right now?
It is biased. It's 100% biased. Quite frankly, I think parents need to start suing schools. They will win if they start suing schools for this sort of stuff because it is blatant discrimination.
Candace, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much, Candace Owens. I will see you this week on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business. And don't forget to join me all week on Fox News, 7 p.m. for Fox News.